Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Three Things at Three. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Kris.
You doing okay there?
I am. I'm doing so awesome.
Are you so giddy for today?
I am.
Oh
I really
my goodness.
am.
I think for all this week,
Yes,
right?
yes.
We have a very exciting week ahead of us here at my girlfriend's cool shop. Those of you who know, we have what's called TUGG, T-U-G-G, the ultimate girlfriend getaway. And we just finished a meeting.
Yes.
So much fun. So we are ready for this.
We better get we better start taking our medication right now, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
We're going to be pretty tired come next week at this time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're so glad that you've joined us today for Three Things at Three, where theme number 1 is something to smile about, theme number 2 is something to learn, and theme number 3 is something to discover. Let's go. Welcome back, everyone, and we've got Allison joining us on set today. Oh my goodness!
To all be together.
Yes, yes, it is. And Allison, how are you feeling about everything going on this week?
Well, I haven't read the book, so I'm a little nervous.
Oh,
I'm teasing.
I was like, going, I thought you were
Allison,
serious.
that's
No,
right.
I knew you did. I knew you did.
Well, as I mentioned in the intro, we have TUGG going on, the Ultimate Girlfriend Getaway. In fact, today is Monday. It doesn't start until Wednesday night, but we already have a few friends with us.
Yes, we do, and they're in the house
They
today.
are in the house.
Say hi,
I have a feeling we'll have a few more tomorrow and a few more on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
So we
so
have
fun.
200 friends coming from all over the country.
And some with spouses, some with
Yes,
family. I mean,
exactly.
so you can't limit it. It's
Oh,
just
my
200
goodness.
enrolled friends.
200 enrolled, but
Yes.
it is going to be hopping around this place.
Yes.
And we have a really fun 3 at 3 planned for all this week as well. So shall we get into it?
Yes, we've got
my
lots
goodness.
to talk
I can't
about.
wait.
We
I
do.
can't
We
wait.
have lots to talk about. So as many of you know, we have been preparing all of you for this day, when this day would come, letting you know that it was going to be book week this week here at Girlfriends, and we wanted to take some of our favorite novels and actually have maybe a book club of sorts, if you will, about, kind of a discussion. Have you ever been a part of a book club?
Maybe for a month.
You know, my family tried to do one too, but we were just kind of in it for the treats.
Oh, there you go.
So,
Well, that works too.
So I'm just wondering what the treats are today.
Yeah. Oh, I should have brought my French bread or something, because we are talking about this book right here today. This is The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah, and let me tell you, it is going to blow you away. Right?
Spoiler alert.
Yes.
If you have not read it and you want to be surprised, tune out and tune in a little later.
Yes.
Get reading.
For sure. In fact, I see that Dawn said she just finished The Nightingale this morning. Way to go, Dawn.
Good job.
It was kind of a longer book, wasn't it?
When I saw how long it was, I'm like, I'm a pretty slow reader. And so I I spent long hours
Yeah.
trying to get it, and I finished it.
Was it worth it?
Oh, absolutely.
It was absolutely worth it.
Yes.
So a lot of you have read it, a lot of you have listened to it, and I'll just let you know that in part 1 today, we are going to talk about the book. We're going to give you a synopsis of the book, and then we're going to share some of our thoughts, and we want to get your thoughts as well. We're going to do the best we can to have this virtual book club, if you will, and so like Allison said, if this is something that you don't want to be spoiled by the story, you may want to tune in about 15-ish minutes, because we're going to also do, during part 2, we're going to be at the sewing machine, and we have a project that was inspired by the book. And that's what we're doing all this week as well with other books.
Just don't
So fun.
tune out, just turn your volume down.
There you
Yes,
go,
and
so
then
you
when
can't
you
hear
see
it.
us at the sewing machine, you know, oh, okay, I'm ready
There
to
you go.
sew with the girls.
Yes.
Okay, so the Nightingale. Let's start out with Jacki. Will you give us a little synopsis of what this book is about, and then we'll get into asking some questions.
It was really hard to, the whole book to come up with something. But
Yes.
The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah, she's a great author.
Yes,
I
she
loved
is.
it.
Yeah.
Tells the stories of 2 sisters, Vianne and Isabel, who struggled to survive during World War II in France. Isabel is the sister that's rebellious, and then she's intent
Yes, she
on
is.
fighting for France, while Vianne wants to survive the war with her family intact. So totally two different
And I think we
things.
have some pictures that we
Yeah.
can share as well from some that we took from not necessarily this book, but just to give us a little bit better background
Yeah.
here of what's happening. So continue telling us the
But
synopsis.
both sisters learn who they are and how brave and courageous they will become as the war continues. They both learn to trust in their instincts and ultimately in each other, which I thought that was pretty incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really was. And so this story, takes place during World War II and in Paris and
Yes.
outside parts of Paris when the German occupation took over France, right?
Yes.
And I do agree with, we're looking at 2 different sisters. We've
Yes.
got Isabel,
Yes.
a little more rebellious, and Vianne. I don't know
Let's
how
do our
you want to
French.
Vianne,
Vianne.
But she's the sister who's a little more level-headed, right? And she's a mother and a wife, and her husband gets sent off to war, and she's left to herself
fend.
to take care of her daughter,
Yes.
right? Okay.
In fact, it's so interesting. You know what? These 2 sisters remind me of myself and my sister,
How's that?
because I would take the role of Vianne.
I
And
would agree with that.
My sister would be Isabel.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's what made it even more fun.
Yeah, that's so true. That, both from the same family, but 2 completely different
Yes.
experiences. And
Yeah.
I think both of these girls had a different experience when it came to the war. Don't you think,
Oh,
Allison?
absolutely. Absolutely. They just had kind of a different outlook of the war. And I think kind of place in family
The age differences.
the age difference
Yeah.
plays a huge role. I mean, I think about me and my sister, and maybe Isabel was just a little bit more spoiled, a little bit. I mean, I just think that they were looking for different things.
Okay, Alice has a really good question, and I want to get both of your takes on this. She asked if earlier in the comments, she said, did anyone, was she the only one that thought Isabel was telling the story up until the very end? Because at the beginning of the book, there's a narrator, but we're not told who the narrator is, right?
Yes.
So did you have a feeling of who the narrator was?
I thought it was
figure it out.
Isabel. I thought it was
You
Isabel.
thought it was Isabel?
I really did, yes.
I fluctuated back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I really did not know who the narrator was till the end. And you kind of hoped it was Isabel. I think you hoped it was Isabel.
Yeah.
What about you, Boss?
I don't know. I did think it was Vianne. I did.
you did?
Yeah, I did. I thought she's got a story to tell. And so right from the very beginning, I pictured Vian, I'm going to say Vianney. I picture Vianney in my mind the whole time. And so I was pleasantly surprised that at the end, that indeed was her. But you know, there were still always a few things like, ooh, could it be, could it be? So I thought that was brilliant on Kristin Hannah's part, is to be able to say that. Be able to share that story, but have you really not know who was narrating this, right?
Yeah.
Mona said she wasn't sure either.
Yeah.
And a lot of you thought it was Isabel.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know. It just kind of, that's,
Yeah.
because I pictured her, you know, at the end being with, what was his name? That was even
Gaetan.
Gaetan.
Yes,
I'm
Gaetan.
We have to try our French. You know, and then being with him, because their relationship was so off and on.
Yes.
Too. So I was hoping.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was hoping.
I don't know. It's interesting. I love what Judy said. She said these sisters were in two different places in life.
Yes. Right.
One had children that needed protection, while the other did not have those responsibilities.
Very
I
true.
think that is really true.
Yes,
I
it
think,
is.
Judy, that's a really good point.
It is.
That probably, depending on what stage of life we're in, we could look at the world completely different, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I completely, the responsibilities that we have.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Exactly. So these two sisters had quite a troubled relationship with their father. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Why was that relationship so strained?
Well, I just think that a lot of it was perspective and not understanding. I mean, you know, they had this father who I think times were different, so help me out just a little bit.
True.
I think times were different, and so a lot of the roles that our children have with their fathers are a little bit different now, where before fathers were supposed to be the authority figure and the responsible parties in a family, and they were the ones that went off to work. Well, all of a sudden they're evacuated, and the dad won't go.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he decides to stay, and I don't think that there was a lot of understanding. I try to think in my own heart how I would feel if we're evacuated and I'm supposed to be taking my sister, who is kind of the rebellious, plus my kids, plus leaving a family member in occupied Paris.
Right.
I mean, you know, I think I would be a little bit mad going, who's in charge of this family right now?
Right. Right, and that happened at such a young age for her too. Kathy said that there was the son Julian, who was named for her father, which I thought was a beautiful tribute to him.
Yes.
So speaking of her father, we know that towards the end of the book, he does kind of what I would say was the ultimate sacrifice. You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the ultimate sacrifice. What did he do?
Well, I think he wanted to somehow redeem himself to the girls, and so then he took the blame for Isabel.
For Isabel,
you know, saying that he was the Nightingale.
Yeah,
He was the
And
spy.
so he was the one that.
So everyone was looking for the Nightingale.
Yes,
the Germans were looking for the Nightingale because the Nightingale was coined for this spy that was delivering messages and things to the people there in France. And that was if you were to be found guilty, it would be by execution. That was your punishment.
Right.
So Julian, the father, ends up taking the ultimate sacrifice and says, you know, it was me. Do you think that was his way of asking for forgiveness from his daughters?
I'm torn between it. I'm torn between a little bit because I think as parents, we all think that we would put our life on the line for our children. I mean, you know, I think it's something that is a given. But would we really, when it came down to it? I mean, you know, we could. So I think it was asking for forgiveness. I think it was a lot that he felt it was his obligation to protect them. I think.
Do you think it worked in the girls' minds?
I have a clear answer, so you guys answer first.
Okay. I'd like to know. What's
No,
your clear answer?
absolutely
You don't
not.
think- why is that?
I mean, you know, I think that it would ask for forgiveness, but that is a huge guilt
Yes.
to place
yes.
on somebody.
Yes,
and
that's
and
true.
so I don't. in my mind, and I may get a lot of flack for this,
No.
but in my mind, at that situation, death would be easier for me than a lifetime of guilt thinking that my father died for
Yes.
me.
Interesting.
Yes.
So that's very, I mean, that guilt right there is
Yeah.
a lot to live with.
Yes, it would be. And for me, I looked at it with the perspective of maybe that was all he knew he could do. Like he was almost this extreme father. It was either one way or another way. So he was either like, no, I am not going to be a part of your lives, or yes, I will be, and this is my ultimate sacrifice. So for me, it was like this extreme on two ends. So maybe he didn't know any better,
Right.
other than, I don't know how to do the in-between, but this is
But
what
what's
I'm going to
in
do.
between with that?
Right?
I mean, there was no in between.
No,
when
there
it came
wasn't.
down to that,
No.
there was no
No.
in between.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
a choice that he had to make in the moment, and,
Yeah.
and he made it.
And he made it without
Yeah.
really thinking a whole lot. He
Yeah.
just made it, didn't
Right.
he?
Well, I think
Yeah.
Kathy made a good comment that after World War I, he was not the same. He was not the same. So
That's true.
I think we don't understand
Exactly.
the post-traumatic syndrome that these veterans, go through.
I agree.
And so, he decided to become an
Me-
alcoholic,
Right.
alcoholic, and because there wasn't any help.
Yeah.
You just came home and you had to just
Well, isn't
do
that
it.
true? It's not like it is now.
No.
You know, although what's crazy for me to think about is this was not that many years ago, you guys.
No, it really
When
wasn't.
you think about in the 1940s, that was not that long ago.
Yeah.
That's
So-
within a lot of people that we know their lifetime.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
to me, that is like, wow, I hadn't really thought about that. And I think the resources that are available now for people who are going through some of those might be, at least be made more available. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it has answered all those hard, difficult things that come up, but at least they are made more available, and people are talking about, mental illness more and those things too. So to me, I go, wow, that was a period of life. And somebody mentioned in the comments too, how, how after his wife died, he was not the same
Right.
either. So
Right.
it's really hard to say one way or another of how someone should be when we don't really understand where their mind is at,
Yeah.
Or
right?
unless
Yeah.
we've gone through it, or unless we've lived in their
Yeah.
shoes, or any of those things. I mean, even now we talk about the help that veterans have, but unless you've lived that,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, you
unless you
don't.
are
Yeah.
constantly, you don't know
Yeah.
what help.
Okay,
you need.
here's another question for all of you at home too. Was there a moment in the book that you felt like was turned a series of events for you? I have something in my mind, but what is the one moment in the book that you went, okay, this is now going to change the trajectory of what's about to happen?
When Julian admitted that he was working for the resistance.
Oh,
That for me was
a turning point.
Uh-huh, it was.
Okay.
Mine's different. What's
Okay.
yours?
Yeah.
Mine is when Vianney killed
Beck.
Oh, Beck.
That
Captain
was mine too.
Beck.
When
Yes.
when she
Okay.
killed Captain Beck,
Yes.
she kind of had, I don't want to say a good thing going, but she kind of had a
But-
good thing going.
No, she
well,
did.
he was a good man.
He was.
Yes.
He really
he was
helped
a
her
good
a
man.
lot.
Did you find yourself sympathetic to him?
Oh, yes.
I started
Yes.
finding myself
Yes.
sympathetic to him,
Yes.
that he was a good man who was put in
In a bad
a really bad spot.
Because he
in
didn't
life.
want to be there either.
No,
So-
exactly. So, yep, Gail said Vianney clobbering Beck. That exactly was, a good,
Yep.
that
Yeah.
was a turning point for me, because she ended up in no second thought really, which she was going to protect her sister. Even though they had a troubled relationship, she was going to protect her sister over anything else.
Yes.
Would Beck have protected Isabel?
I don't know. That's a good
That
question.
is a good question.
I don't know.
For Alice,
Yeah.
the turning point for her was when she was arrested and it turned downhill. Yeah, if you've read the book, I'd love to know your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
What was the turning point for you? Because I think for me, I just felt so much sympathy for Captain Beck.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I really
agree.
did. But then she did what she had to do
Right.
to protect her sister.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So-
there's something to be said for that. We have some quotes that we want to share that we pulled of some of our favorites. The first one is, "You are not ready." Okay, now some might go, why did you choose that quote? Well, this was something that was told to Isabel when from Gaetan,
Right.
when she wanted to go off to war. She wanted to be like the men and wanted to do what they were doing. And he said, no. He wouldn't even allow her. He said, you are not
He
ready.
left without
He
saying
did.
goodbye.
He did,
So,
yes.
yeah.
So in turn, what did that make her do? Oh, you're not going to tell me I'm
Right.
not ready.
It just added fuel to the
It
fire.
added
That's what
fuel
it did.
to the fire, exactly. So to me, that was kind of like, wow, if somebody were to say to me, yeah, no, you're not ready, I'll be like,
I'll show you.
I'll show you. Let me
Yeah.
prove to you that I am. Let's see, here's another one. Tell my sister I asked about her. We parted badly. He smiled. I'm constantly arguing with my brother, even in war. In the end, we're brothers. What are your thoughts?
That's hard for me because I've been very vocal about my relationship with my sister.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so I replay a lot of situations in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, where we parted badly,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no going back because in the end, I think we're sisters, but she doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
So that's hard for
That's a
me
tough one.
because I mean, you know,
Yeah.
once again, you go back to guilt.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. How about this one? It's hard to forget, she said quietly, and I'll never forgive. But love has to be stronger than hate, or there is no future for us.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
Yeah.
That is really good.
Yep. So there's a lot of powerful lessons in this book, and I will tell you, it's a heavy one. And
much
for
so.
those of you who are like, I don't know if I can read something so heavy, I get it. I understand. But I'll tell you what, I gained so much. I believe I gained a new perspective on what not only the men who went off to war and women too, but I gained new perspective on who was left behind.
Absolutely.
What
That's
they were
exactly-
dealing with.
Yes.
And I never really thought about that much.
No.
Right?
Right.
I think that was
So-
I think that was very powerful.
Yeah. And I think we've got one more. Let's see. In love, we find out who we want to be. In war, we find out who we are.
Oh,
Yeah.
I pray we
good
never
one.
have. I pray.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pray that we never have to find that out.
Right.
I love that Vicki shares that hate takes too much energy and gives up power.
Right.
Yes.
So true. Wow. A lot of horrible, horrific things happened to both of these women.
Yes.
Okay, each in their own different ways. And I just think that, there's a lot of lessons to be learned when we read, and when it kind of takes us into some new worlds that, we don't really deal with on an everyday basis. So reading can be very powerful, can't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Sable said, would we as a people be as strong now as they were then? It's a really good question,
That is a
Sable.
really good question.
You know,
I don't
Sable,
know.
I
I
don't know
know
either, and I'd like to think that. I remember going to New York and looking at the Statue of Liberty and looking up at that great memorial and thinking, are we worthy of her? And then I think back when 9/11 happened, and I was working in a situation where I was directly involved with some things that happened. But I remember the feeling of patriotism and brotherhood and survival the day after.
Yes.
And
Could we-
I don't know who put these here.
Yeah.
But do you remember the flags?
Yes.
Right.
The flags were flying, and we came together
Yeah.
as a country,
what
and we were strong, and we were united. And so I would like to think that as individuals, we still have that. And the few don't speak for all of us.
Yeah.
But I think we would.
Yeah.
I
That
think we would be as
that
strong.
happens today,
Yeah.
you know, with the shootings. You know,
Yes.
those things that happen in our country.
All right, thanks,
We
Eric,
do. I
Abby,
think
whoever
yeah.
keeps
I
these
think
here
we
for
do.
me.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I ultimately think we would come together
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. I love what Judy shares. If we do not stand up to hate and bigotry and study history, we are doomed to repeat it. And how true that is, Judy. And I know for one that Judy herself has had to deal with a lot of pain and heartache in her family, and what she's had to deal with because of hate in this world. And you know, it reminds us it's so much better to be one.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah. So beautiful story. I highly recommend it. You know, I think the part that I cried the most, and it was a blubbery cry for sure, was at the very end when Ari or Daniel came back and to say thank you.
yeah.
Yes.
And that
remembered.
remembered her.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
wow, pretty powerful. So if you have not read this book, it's one we highly recommend. And The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. And even though we did share a lot of things today that happened in the book, I know you won't be disappointed by reading it nonetheless.
Yeah.
I think it has a beautiful message and something that we can all really learn from. And I don't know about you two, but I can't stop thinking about it.
Oh, I do.
Well, I know, Kris, because I know. Here, let me. But I know when you picked up that book, and we were at the bookstore, and there was
We were.
all those to choose from.
Yep.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I
And you're
do.
like, what should I read? What should I read? And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh,
The Nightingale.
you have to read
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
one. So, you know.
Yeah, we were on a work trip, and I always love to have a good book on hand, and I forgot mine, and I said, okay, Allison, give me a book, and she's like, this is the one. So it really was beautiful, and it's going to be made into a major motion picture
what I
too.
heard.
Oh, I
So,
hope they can do it justice.
I
hope.
hope. You never
Yeah.
know for sure. So
Tomorrow's book
Yeah.
is a major motion picture, and they did a fantastic
Yes,
job. So I'm
it
going to
is
keep my
good.
fingers crossed.
yes,
Yeah. So it's good.
Thank you, Judy. I'm going to cry, but thank you for sharing about your
Where's
son.
the tissues?
Okay.
We need the tissues.
Because she lost her 23-year-old son.
There you go.
During 9/11. And so, Judy, our heart goes out to you, and we think about you often when we think about, especially this week, marking the anniversary of 9/11. It's crazy to believe it's been 23 years now.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
But
I
just
still
like
remember
yesterday.
like it was
Just
yesterday.
like yesterday.
absolutely. So, all right. Well, my friends.
Oh man, I got
I know
goosebumps.
it's usually one of those things that, you know, theme number one is a little more lighthearted, but you know,
Yeah.
this is one of those books that you just have to have the discussion.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to
great.
talk about it. We encourage you to read it. Encourage you to keep sharing your thoughts on our Facebook page, Friends of My Girlfriends. We'd love to hear even more of your thoughts, because I know we couldn't get to all of them today. I understand Marie said try the women.
Oh, that's
yeah.
another.
That's another one.
one.
I know
Try
Kim's
that,
reading
Marie.
that right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and about the women of Vietnam. So
Yes, I've heard that.
Anyway.
It was really good too.
well, we're ready to move on to theme 2, and I had to choose some kind of project that I felt inspired to share based off of this book. And so before we move over to the sewing machine, I want to go ahead and end this conversation with sharing with you what we're going to be talking about, and that is letter blocks. And the reason why I share this now is because I want to get your take on this word, hero. Okay? Kind of a powerful word. Kind of a big word, right?
Right.
To think about. There's lots of heroes in our lives. Who would you say was the hero in this book? If you could choose one, because I know I'm gonna throw you one. Choose one.
How do you choose?
One of you choose one. You can't choose the one that someone else said. And I want to hear in the comments who you think that is as well.
Wow.
Okay. Who is it?
You should have given us some time.
Or some warning.
Warning on that one.
Gosh, who is the
Wow.
ultimate hero in the book? I'm going to say Vion.
Okay.
The reason I think she's the hero is she lived through all of it.
Ah.
I mean, she really had to live through all of it.
Okay.
And her decisions were so impactful.
Well, and think about all the children she saved.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
their mothers
yes.
were taken from them because they were Jews, and they were sent
She had to
the
learn
camps.
so many hard lessons
Yes.
with the people that came through her home, from her best friend Rachel, who was her
Yeah.
neighbor,
Yes.
all the way through living through a rape. I
Yeah.
mean, what
Yes.
a horrible, and she,
Yes.
and then to have a husband who probably came home from war so
Yeah, that's
damaged
the other one.
and have to put on a brave face and live with her choices.
And he not only put on a brave face, but he put on the ultimate face of forgiveness and love.
yes.
Because he accepted that child as his own, even though I'm certain he
Yeah.
knew that that was not the case, right?
Yeah.
And he knew what to me, that was ultimate love. So to me, he was a hero in showing that ultimate love towards his wife in the end, because that's what she needed more than anything.
Right.
Okay, hero?
Man. Well, I would have to say Isabel.
Yes.
For
right.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, she's
Yeah.
definitely up there, putting her life in jeopardy every
Yeah.
time she took those soldiers, those pilots that
Yes.
Over the Alps,
The
yeah.
downed pilots,
I'm
yes.
just thinking that would have to have taken a lot of stamina.
Mm-hmm.
You would, and she didn't sound like she was a very big girl either.
Mm-hmm.
So can you imagine the determination
Yeah.
that she really wanted to make a difference?
Sure.
And I felt like, would I be able to do that, and and not be so, I don't know, unselfish.
Being unselfish.
Being
'cause,
unselfish.
That was totally against, out of her comforts, like she was out amidst all that
Yeah.
garbage
Imagine
and
the
everything.
misery.
No,
and I
uh-uh.
know, yeah, I can't imagine, you've given your life for your family, but these were not family members that she was ultimately trying to save.
Okay,
And
Patty
not
said,
necessarily even countrymen.
Right.
I mean, some
Yeah,
of them were
that's
Americans,
true.
some
They
of them
were
yes,
British.
they were.
Mhm.
Yep.
Patty said that is so difficult because V saved children and the generations and generations of people who are alive due to that.
Yeah.
Isabel saved men who went to go fight and could have changed the outcomes of so many battles. Ultimately, I think Isabel, and I think MJ was right. I think was it MJ? I think it was someone up there earlier in the comments said it was all of them.
Yes.
It was all of them.
I
Yeah,
see.
it was
Yep, for
MJ.
sure.
They were all heroes in their
Everyone.
own. So
They were.
yeah, I forced,
Even right down to-
forced you to choose one, but
I know you did, but
certainly they
And you didn't
could be
choose
their
one.
own. Well, I think her husband.
Yes.
Vianney's
Okay.
husband.
Yes,
I'll
for
say
sure.
just because I think the ultimate love was to just accept his wife for
Yeah,
who she was.
that. Yep, and to not even mention another word about
Yes.
it. Oh, there's so many. There's so many of them.
I
But I
know.
would totally agree with Vianney. I would totally agree with Isabel. All of
Yeah.
them, amazing. So, during theme number 2, we're going to show you how to create your own letter block today. And the whole idea was, words are important. Words are powerful. And what message are you sending to the world through your words? So we'll talk about that on theme number 2. And as we head over there to the sewing machine, let's take a quick look at a tip I have for joining binding.
Hey everyone, my girlfriend's quilt shop here to show you how to get almost 5 yards of bias binding out of one fat quarter. So first you're going to bring the opposite corners of your fat quarter to the center like this, and then you're going to take those 2 folded sides and put them together. Then you're going to fold that one more time. Then you're going to go ahead and cut this in half and line up your 2 pieces. For this project, I went with 2 1/4 inch binding. So cut your 2 1/4 inch pieces from that center line out to the edges. Depending on the width of the binding you choose to go with, you should be left with about 10 strips of binding here. So then you're just going to go ahead and piece all of those bias strips together like so. You're just going to sew right here on that line. And look at all of this beautiful bias binding out of just one fat quarter. Happy quilting!
Okay,
Here we are again. I'm a little nervous, boss.
Are you kidding? Me too.
I don't have to do any applique.
There you go. It's all good. Hey, by the way, that last video was all about how to get 5 yards of binding out of 1 fat quarter. Can you believe that? It's true, and it's not just binding, it's bias binding. So definitely go back and refer to it as often as you like when it comes time for a project where you need almost 5 yards of binding. All right, my friend, as I mentioned earlier, we're talking about letter blocks today. And this is just such a fun project to do. In fact, your mind is going to be reeling with all the possibilities of what you want to do with these letter blocks, because let me tell you, you and Jacki
I know, we both chose words.
I asked these two to choose a word that reflected something that was important to them. So this one's Jacki's. Let me see. Should I? Here. Woo, wrong. Strong. There we go. Strong. Jacki, what are your thoughts on this one? Why did you choose the word strong?
Well, just because I think you have to be
You
anymore.
have to be.
You
Absolutely.
really do. I mean, even the world today, you have to be strong.
Yeah. So this is a good reminder
Yeah.
to be strong, to stay strong through those hard times. Okay. And Allison, what did you choose?
I chose the word brave. Brave.
Okay.
I thought a lot about
about
the book and about how brave they are, but I think sometimes just even getting out of bed and facing the day.
Yes.
You have to be
Sometimes you
brave.
have to put that brave face on. I love that. All right. Well, we have a great pattern for you today, and it is a free download on our website because this is courtesy of Moda Fabrics. Let's take a look at what's in front of me right here. It is called Spell It with Fabric, and let me tell you, this is a good one because you can take any letter you want in the alphabet and create that letter, and it gives you all of the dimensions and everything. So I thought it would be good to just kind of briefly go through what you're looking at when you see these instructions. First of all, it will tell you what cut blocks you need. So like this one, it would be 2.5 by 4.5, 4.5 by 4.5. So all those numbers are there. But what some might be confused on when you look at this, and that's why I thought it would be important to talk about it, is you may be wondering, why is this triangle look like this? Well, let me show you here that if I have my print fabric, let me pull this over a little bit. Okay, I've got my print fabric right here. And I were to put on a square, I would put that square right side down. And then notice right here the direction that this block is sewn in. Do you see how it goes from top left-hand corner to bottom right-hand corner? So I'm going to give this to Allison to put on her guide beam there on the Baby Lock Altair. She's going to go from corner to corner. Now, if you're not familiar with how like an easy corner triangle works, basically what happens is once that line has been sewn down, you'll actually be able to pull it back on top of itself, and now you have it in the top right-hand corner. Then what we do is we trim off the background. So I'm going to go ahead and let you do that, Allison.
I'm sewing on the Baby Lock Altair today, and there's a couple of things that well, first of all, the guide beam is just incredible, because if you set this right, then you can just follow this guide beam and you don't have to draw the line on here. The other thing is I did quilting number 1, because that puts my needle smack dab in the middle so I can follow that line. But you'll also notice on the bottom here, if I move my hand, I don't know if I can get this close, but we do have some 1/4" tape on here so that you can line those corners up. So just a few tips and tricks to get those corners really nice and straight when you're doing half square triangles.
Okay, I love that. And then on the opposite one is going to be, we're going to go the opposite direction. So let's take a look again at our cutting table. And I had this one go this way. Now notice that the direction is the opposite. So we're going to go from this corner to this corner. So go ahead and do that. And we'll have that go in the correct orientation. I'm just going to give it a little finger press right here.
Boss, do you want me to iron press it?
You know what? I think we'll go ahead and just finger press it for today.
All right.
Sorry to take that pleasure away from you,
She
Allison.
doesn't trust me with the iron after I did it wrong last time.
No, 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 no. Okay, and this one's going to go this way. So now we have the 2 parts of the A, and the rest is so easy. As you can see here, I have my top print there, my background, my print, and my background. So all we have to do is sew these in order. Let's pull back on the camera just a little bit, and you'll be able to see how all of this comes together. So this one's at the top, then I have this, and this, and it's just, again, a 1/4" seam allowance. And now you can see the A that has been created with this block. It's so much fun to do. So go ahead and we'll put right sides together and stitch those all together. And pretty soon we're going to have an A block. Now while Allison's doing that.
A for Allison,
there
or
you go.
A for awesome.
Yeah, awesome's a good word. Okay. So is Allison.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute here. All right, so while you're doing that, Allison, I'm going to go ahead and show a project I've been working on. All right, so there is a saying I say all the time. And I tell this to my children all the time, and I tell it to myself all the time, and that is, everyone has a story. Everyone has a story. And I thought this would be very fitting to be able to show this week, as we're talking about books as well, is that everyone has a story, because we have learned some amazing stories in these novels. But I truly believe when you get to know a person and you know their story, then it's so much better, because you don't really judge them anymore, right? You
It's
go,
just an
"There's this
understanding of who they are, what
understanding."
shapes them.
Exactly. And so if we take a look here, I used, some very scrappy fabrics. And I did this on purpose because, just like people, we all come from different places and stages and parts of the country and different ages, all of those things. And we all have a story, and it's very scrappy. Our stories and the people that we're around are very scrappy. So this is the quilt that I'm making. Were you able to get all 4 of those? Perfect. And I know you can't see it very well, but pretty soon it's going to be a finished quilt. But look how easy those blocks come together. Here's the A right there. And then I just filled it in with some filler blocks. So I've got, later on, this is just half of the quilt, but you can see here, let's see, that I have a 4 patch. Yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and stand and hold this up here in a minute. And I have some flying geese blocks. So let's
Can I
see.
help?
Where do you want this at, Eric? Right here? Okay. So this is half of the quilt, and this is going to be along the bottom. So everyone has a story. And again, I just know that when we find out a person's story, it's so much easier to love them and for who they are, because everyone has different experiences that they bring with them to the table. So this is the second half of my quilt. And the first half, this is actually going to be done before tug, if you can believe it, ladies. I know, kind of crazy, but I'm almost done, because in our class that Allison and I are going to be teaching, I'm going to be doing some curved piecing with a Wonder Curve ruler, and I've got a bunch of butterflies that are going to come up here above it. So again, the butterflies meaning that, change. And so anyway, so that's what's happening here. So lots of different ways of being able to get your message out to the world is by doing something like this. Let's go ahead and see your blocks real quick. And then I believe I have some photographs of other quilts that were made with that. Is that right, Eric, on there? Okay, yes. All right, so here we go. Okay, so if you take a look at the letter A, look how fast that was. And seriously, these blocks come together in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, so fast. So all she would do is now complete that, and you would have a finished block. So during theme number 3, I'm going to show you some examples of other quilts that people have made with this very pattern of Spell It with Moda. And we're also going to show you a little idea that I asked Allison to put together for us of a way of organizing these letter blocks, because sometimes there'll be a lot of little pieces going together at once. So we want to make sure and let you know of a fun way to do that. So, all right, are there any questions? I love that, Dee. She said, as Ted Lasso says, be curious, not judgmental, open to hearing everyone's story. And it's very true, I think, in life, isn't it?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So, all right. Well, that is what that is. If you are, let me pull my pattern together again. Again, this is a free download, again, courtesy of Moda. And it's a fun one. I promise you won't be able to stop at just making one. Like, you'll think of all kinds of other ideas that you want to do with your letter blocks.
I can't wait.
So, anyway. I guess the question is,
my next one's going to be a 4-letter word.
Okay.
Time. And I hope that it makes some more.
I don't know about that. Could take up some time, but I love that. Anyway, so the question is, what message are you sharing with the world? So let us know. Let us know in the comments, and we want to see your blocks too. All right, as we move in, some tips for joining your binding.
Hi everyone, it's Kris from My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop, and today I'm going to show you a little trick I use when it comes to connecting our binding strips together. When we piece our binding strips together, what we'll usually do is place one on top of the other, just like that, and then we sew at a diagonal from corner to corner. However, sometimes it's really hard to find where the corner is, and so one of the tricks I like to do is I will actually bring it over by about 1/4 of an inch, up and over to the left, so that it is actually overlapping. Now I have a great bird's eye view from corner to this corner. And there we go.
All righty, we've got Jacki back with us.
It was so fun to have a little bit of a break. I almost fell asleep.
Jacki, we loved your block on strong. I think that's a great word to remember. Yeah, and you were saying that you want to make some for your grandsons.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't that be
would
so
love
fun?
it.
I think they would
just-
love it. They're little enough. that they're learning letters.
Some are learning to read, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it would be perfect.
And who doesn't love, what child doesn't love the sound of their own name?
Right.
Oh, who doesn't love to see their own name, right?
Yeah.
You know, let's be honest.
Yes.
We all like to.
That's right. Well, as I mentioned earlier, you know, sometimes some of those letters create a lot more pieces than like the letter A. The letter T would be one of the easiest. One of the
Yes.
hardest is like the letter
W.
W, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's nice to have a little design board. So Allison, let's take a look and see what you put together for
Okay,
us
so this
today.
is so fun. So here's the design board that I am going to show you how to put together. Now, sometimes I think we have to make this really hard, but you gave me this project, and I'm like, what can I do for a design board? So I
Yeah.
went home and I made it really hard, and I said to my husband, I need you to cut me a piece of plywood by this, by that, and he grumbled, and he went downstairs and he pulled out the and I have forgot it 3 times.
Yeah.
Even this morning I was going to bring
no.
it, and I forgot it. It's sitting downstairs. So don't tell him. So what I did is I just ran to the dollar store.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
the dollar store.
Yeah.
And at the dollar store, I was wandering around going, oh, what am I going to do? And this is what I found. It's a whiteboard on one side.
Great idea.
Okay.
With just, you know, I mean, this is cardboard.
That
right
is
here.
excellent.
Yep.
For
So-
$1.25.
For $1.25. And look how cool.
Wow.
Whiteboard on the other side.
Yeah.
So I
and
just,
is it magnetic?
it's magnetic.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Okay.
great.
And you can push pins through on this side
Okay.
because it's cardboard. So I literally just took a piece of flannel and I just went downstairs. Yeah, I didn't even go in my own scrap. I went in your store. I went downstairs and I found in the scrap thing a piece of flannel and I just cut it to this side. And then I wanted to find some really cool duct tape because I know it's out there. All I could find were 2 colors because it's back to school kind. And I guess all the really cool duct tape, I could see all the holes, you know, where
yeah.
there were. So I'm like, well, you know what? Hot pink and blue are really
Yeah.
fun colors.
That
so
works.
You just take a piece of duct tape. I know where the end of this is, so instead of struggling on that other one, you just take it, measure it out,
That's easy peasy.
Wow.
snip it, not with your sewing scissors, and then you're just going to take and you are going to just wrap it around to this other side. Do that on all 4 sides, and you have your own design board.
That is
for
so clever.
for
Yeah.
$2.50.
because then-
I love
wow.
that. That's great.
Yeah, that really is. Oh, this way. Yeah, it's so nice when you're pulling those pieces all together and you have it laid out, and then you know exactly where to, you know,
To
all you
sew
have
it.
to do is you're just pulling these from, and it would be helpful if it was the
I
other
was
way,
gonna say,
Chris. There you
she's
go.
doing Sanskrit or something.
There you go.
That looks great.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, probably you should tape the other
Tape
side
the
down
other side. That would
before
have
you
worked,
do that.
right?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Janet thought I was going to do a gender reveal.
Boy or girl, yes. There you go.
All right.
I think that's an excellent idea. I love that, and something that you can just take with you and just, you know, throw in your bag if you need to, if you're
Right.
going to a class or something.
Yeah.
So
$2.50.
Yeah.
Well, $3.75 plus tax because I had to get 2 colors.
Okay.
you couldn't decide.
I couldn't decide.
So you just
Well,
did
it's,
both.
so it's
Well,
like me
that's
and
fine.
yarn.
All right, well, let's take a quick look at some other photos for some inspiration of letter quilts. All right, because there's so many out there.
Cute.
Piece of quilt for your sewing room.
I love that.
What else do we have? Amanda Castor did cut, sew, press, repeat.
Oh, this
I
one's
love
cute.
this
I love
one.
This one
For
too.
Christmas.
Beautiful. Oh, fun.
It's almost like a little Christmas tree
Yeah, I love
in of
that.
Yes.
itself. Camille Roskelley's a huge favorite of mine, and she put in her little spool blocks in between. I love this next one from Emily Day. It's perfect.
Oh, how cute.
You make me happy when skies are gray. Like, is there a song that you always sing to your family? You know,
Yes.
that would be so fun.
You are my sunshine.
There you go. See, that
Yeah.
would be perfect. I love this one from Studio Dragonfly. Believe there is good in the world. Ah,
Oh, look how cute.
and she quilts a lot. Has, you know, family, love, laugh, kisses. How cute. pretty little quilts just put together, an alphabet quilt.
I have to say, boss, when you said your mind will go crazy, my mind kind of went blank because I'm like, I don't know what words I would put on there. I had a hard enough time coming up with the word brave, but now all of a sudden my mind is going.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're thinking of all the things you could do. How about when life gets scrappy, make a quilt?
How cute.
That's
So
great.
those are
are
just
perfect.
some ideas for inspiration for you to make your messages to the world. Again, we would love to see what you make. All right, friends. Oh yeah, Dee says, I love you, a bushel and a peck. That would be an
that would be a good
adorable
one, too.
quilt.
So cute.
Yes, that
Yes,
would be
it
cute.
would.
Oh, especially if you just had apples or peaches or whatever. So cute.
I love
yes.
that. All right, friends. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's 3 at 3. And if you did, we'd be so grateful if you shared it. And we hope you'll join us again tomorrow because I'll have, let's see, it's Kyle and Sandra are with me tomorrow who just finished reading The Boys in the Boat. And I can't wait to share with you the project that they came up with as well. All right.
If you haven't read it, watch the movie.
Yeah, there you
There
go.
you
It's a
sure.
good one. It's a good one
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
All right. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Keep doing all the things you love, and we hope to see you again real soon. Bye-bye.